Okay, here we are, Justice Served TV. Michael Bryant here with this guy, Doug Weinstein. We're not going to be dissuaded by the coming hurricane. We're out here. We're grinding it out, as is this guy in court in the Young Thug trial. Oh, every day. Is today 140, 130?
I don't keep track of my day. It would make me insane to do that.
It's been a while. Okay, so I don't want to dwell on the guy we last heard from today because I may use that replay tonight if I can't sleep.
So this is the response pages for the request. Basically has the information for the person that extracted, that was in charge of getting the information through the legal process.
It's unfortunate. He was a cell phone guy.
It's part of the job. You got to do it.
I'm sure he's a great guy.
Yeah.
And that's important foundational stuff because somewhere along the line we're going to learn that those coordinates, who had the phone, who made the phone calls, who was where and when, is going to be important.
Right. They end up getting mapped by some investigator.
Okay. So let's talk more then about Lil D, who finished today. Your thoughts on his testimony overall?
Well, I thought that he tried to be as truthful as possible today, and I'm really glad that he went in there and admitted that he lied back in 2015 and 2017. I didn't expect him to say anything else because that's pretty much what he did, but I'm glad he did get on the stand and say that. Yak never told you he was involved in the Donovan Thomas murder.
No.
So you just made all that up?
Yes.
Yesterday, I actually reran your entire cross because it was so surgical. I was going to say surgical.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, it was perfect because after the belabored direct, it's refreshing to get in there with just, here's what I need, boom, 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 and get out. Did you feel that was successful?
Yeah, I think so. And I benefit from having Brian Steele and Max Shart, who I know are going to go into all the details that would be necessary absent they're doing a cross. So because I know they're doing that, I can just get in there very quickly, make the points I want to make, and I'm hoping I'm developing, I don't know, a rapport, I don't know, something with the jury where they know if I get up there, I'm going to be short, I'm going to be sweet, and they can focus on the points I want to make.
Which is so important after Ms. Love can be rather deliberate is the word I will use.
We can use that word, sure.
It's the nicest way to put it. Okay, so now here we are. Looks like tomorrow we're going to have a rain day.
Probably.
At least one.
Yeah.
Any update on how long this thing might go? Any witness list that's been truncated in any way?
No, as a matter of fact, the witness lists have grown somewhat recently, where the state has added further custodians of records, other people that have been keeping track of evidence that has been collected. So I don't know. I'm going to guess we have 90 witnesses left. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm thinking we're going to go into late spring, early summer with this case.
And that might be optimistic. We don't know. We don't know. So any surprises so far as they relate to your client, Yak Gotti?
I would say really none at all. The testimony we got from Copeland, the testimony that we got from Zachary was pretty much in keeping with what I expected, given what I know about the case and reviewing the evidence I've seen. I'm just glad that it went the way that I was expecting.
I've talked to a lot of folks on the street here while I've been in town. Not one, and I'm not exaggerating, not one was for the prosecution, either in the sense that it was worthwhile or that they were winning. Thoughts?
Well, I've certainly talked to people whose opinions have changed over the course of this case, and I think that's good. That means you've been watching the case, you've been paying attention to the evidence or lack thereof. So there were some people that felt otherwise, but I think most people that have really focused and paid attention to the testimony that has come into this case has not seen the state really put on a case where they've proved beyond a reasonable doubt that our clients did this, and maybe even to a lower standard. I just think they're not there yet. Of course, we're still halfway through their case, so they have time to present more evidence. So we'll wait and see.
This may be one of those cases where when the prosecution's done, I sit back and say, I don't know what the hell happened. I don't know who they've proven anything has happened for or against. There's just a whole bunch of information disconnected.
Well, it's a long case, it's a complicated case, but the state is the one that chose to do that. They could have indicted my client and others for the murder. They could have broken it up. They chose to make this a huge, complex mess. For example, when we had 28 defendants, most of us asked to sever out to make this more manageable. The state fought us every inch of the way. So To the extent that this is a long, complicated case, that is of the state's choosing.
So that makes me circle back to the original equation here. What leads the state to bring a case like this, where if you dissect each of the alleged events, they were not charged in any of these underlying events. So now it's, let's throw it all in a pot and see what happens. What's the motivation for that kind of case?
Well, you know, I can't decide on what their motivation is. All I can do is look at, for example, PAC-GA, the Prosecutors Council of Georgia. You can go on their website and you can see their presentations on RICO. These are the presentations they give to prosecutors all across Georgia on the advantages of RICO. And what their PowerPoint presentation will tell you is they believe RICO allows you to tell, quote unquote, the whole story. So they believe it's advantageous. It's certainly the case that Georgia RICO statute is very broad. I think it's being used in an overly broad manner, maybe even beyond what the legislature intended. But the prosecutors, at least if you listen to them, they think it allows them to tell the whole story and do a more effective job presenting their case.
I definitely appreciate the creativity of the statute and its use, but I think it could backfire on them long term.
I mean, I don't even think you have to think. Just watch how this case is going right now, and you decide. You decide how you think it's going, and if you think bringing this as a RICO and bringing this in the fashion that they have done has been effective for them. And I'll just let what's happened in court speak for itself.
And it's speaking very loudly and in volumes. Doug, continued best efforts. It's always fun to watch you.
Very nice to meet you in person, and thank you for your coverage of this trial. I think the public needs to see it.
Well, you're very popular, by the way, in case you didn't know that.
That would be a change.